Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Premiership Podcast. We're your hosts, Jakob,
and Elijah.
and let's get crack-a-lacking into what was round 22, where the Pies got over the Cats 109 to 101.
Yep, pretty good games this one. All things considered, a bit of controversy in there too, if you don't mind. But Jeremy Cameron and Mychek 5 goals each. Ollie Henry had 4. I mean, it's a really good contest all around. Dacos. Sorry,
Jeremy Cameron was 7.
Pies fans will disagree. Isaac Smith. He'll play his last few games of his career out. He had 9 marks and 22 touches. He had a great game too. In a loss, and Collingwood just getting over the line. In a tight one, this, I guess, Collingwood, they didn't use the ball. They used the ball well. It was just everywhere else on the ground. Geelong weren't able to capitalise off their ball usage. Just turning the ball over. That's just a bit too much. What are your takes on that?
I was a bit scared for the Pies in the first half, not gonna lie. It was a must-win game for the Pies to boost their morale. Even with the outage of Darcy Moore, key pillar down back. Without those two, they will not be winning any premierships anytime soon. So them and Dacos. So I feel like there were players who stood up once Darcy Moore left the field, and yeah, they eventually got their engines going and they won the game with Ollie Henry kicking that last goal and Roden not really being sure about whether or not it was a behind or a goal. So the Pies secure themselves a home final for a qualifying final, and whether that'll be against Melbourne, Port Adelaide, or Brisbane, we'll have to wait and see. But I'd suggest it's probably going to be Port Adelaide against Collingwood at the MCG.
Well, I predicted that with Carlton, which is they have a shot. Melbourne have to lose their last 2 for that to happen. But yeah, it's tough. So Darcy Moore coming out with a hammy, noble ankle injury from that too, and then on Geelong's side, Stanley and Rowan injured. But I guess on Geelong's half, what do you think they can make the rest of their season? Reckon finals is a chance? What's the likelihood?
They do still have a chance, not as likely as say Sydney, because they're rolling at the moment. But who do they have for their last 2 rounds?
So Geelong will have St Kilda this week, and they'll finish off against the Bulldogs as GMHBA.
Difficult games, but I do see them winning against St Kilda and the Dogs. So they'll most likely be versing Sydney in their first final, 6th v 7th. That's how I've got it predicted at least.
I mean, Saints are on a roll right now, and the Dogs, who knows how Bevo decides to cook them up. But yeah, it's weird.
It would be a very big failure for the Cats if they don't make the finals this year. However, because they are obviously the reigning premiers, and I'd like to see them try and secure their premiership hold.
I mean, losing Selwood though, it's obviously taken a big toll on them, and I mean, the level of competition around that area too. I wouldn't blame them for missing out on finals. St Kilda on a roll, and then the Dogs, who'll probably beat West Coast at the home. It's a rough matchup. Sorry,
you'd hope so with the Dogs.
Yeah,
who knows? They'll pull up.
Yeah, but like it's gonna be tough either way for the Cats. They're not super hot right now at all. The way I see it, they're probably gonna drop out of favourability. That's just the way I see it at the end of this week. The Saints are 6th. They want to boost their chances, and if the Blues lose a game, that's all that St Kilda will take their chance to play the 8th side in the Ilium finals.
That's fair enough.
Yeah. As on the game though, between the two. Anything else on them, or we just keep blazing through?
No, nothing else. Just some comedic moments which I'll get to later on.
All right, fair enough. We'll keep blazing through. Yeah.
The Kangas and Bombers. Bombers overcoming North Melbourne 77-86. A very disappointing display by the Bombers. Coming up against a lower team, but the Bombers are young and they got the chocolates in the end. North Melbourne were very tough in this game. I thought they were very accurate as well. Both teams were quite accurate. So it was a pretty good display of football at Marvel.
Good in front of goal, but everywhere else, not too sure. It was very back and forth all game, and you would expect Essendon is pushing for finals to act like it, right, and not be beating North Melbourne, who's second last and lost to last, by 9 points. I'm sorry, but I cannot give Essendon a pass, even though they won. It's like, you know, I mean, Larky kicked 5 goals. You had Cunnington, you know, he's towards the end of his career. Yeah. He had still 2 goals, 24 touches. Like, come on. Mackay had 8 marks. Wardlaw, the rookie, he had 9 tackles. And Curtis, who's also super young on the block too, he had 8. I cannot give Essendon. There's no way I can give Essendon a pass for this one.
Even though they won on the score sheets, I tend to agree with you. It was a pretty disappointing display of football. Even though they have players there, it's still quite disappointing.
I'm not satisfied with this at all from Essendon. I'd be looking for like 36 points at least. We should be winning this by, instead of a to and fro where you get at, you know, the third quarter where like North Melbourne still had the lead, and they were, until the very end, North Melbourne was actually right there, you know, 3 points. So I'm not stoked with this one for Essendon, but as for their finals chances, they're right there. Only percentage behind the Doggies in 9th. They're on the door. They've got the Pies. You don't know. Well, they've got the Giants and the Pies. All right. Well,
a chance.
That's fair. But they are there. They need to win at least one of those to give themselves a chance. And might be in a similar situation to the Cats, where they just pull up short this week, and next week, well, they're just done.
I do feel as though, even though they most likely won't make the top 8, it has still been a satisfactory season for the Bombers, in my opinion. I had them in the bottom 4, with Scott at the helm, and then he's just brought the group and coached them to a T. And they've got a young, exciting list coming through, so I'm excited to see what they can do in season 2024.
Definitely. I mean, it's tough. I would probably expect them around this mark anyway. That's because of the list they had. It's a lot better than, say, St Kilda, who I had down at the bottom. But yeah, I still think, as it stands, they're not really in the form to assume they're making finals, unfortunately. But yeah,
onto Sydney Gold Coast.
Yeah. So Sydney beating the Suns 114-90, 24 points there at the SCG. It was saying Gold Coast who was just leading the way out of the first half, and you know, third quarter onwards, it was all Sydney running away with it. He had Errol Goulden again, great game. He had 8 tackles, 19 disposals. Quiet game from him by his standards, but nonetheless stoked about it. Unless you're a fantasy nerd. Brendan Ellis had a goal, 8 marks, 23 touches. He was great for the Suns. Anderson, he'd played his part, and Witts dominated in the ruck. I mean, yeah, it was mostly just Sydney being more efficient across the board, which got them over the line. Just across everywhere else is just mainly pretty even, to be honest.
I feel like Sydney's forward line is very rejuvenated with Franklin now out of the side and going into retirement. They've got a breath of fresh air going forward with Samadi, McLean, Logan McDonald, Papley, and even some of the young blokes that are coming through. I expect a lot of changes within the list moving into next year with a lot of trades coming in. And with Paddy McCartan obviously retiring during due to concussion. So there's going to be a lot of changes at Sydney, and it's going to be quite the welcomed one. And Sydney could go anywhere next year. They could drop off, or they could even push for top four. Like, you never know. They're on a 8-win, 7-win streak at the moment.
Yeah.
They're in the top 8, and I expect them to play in the finals. They will play in the finals 100%. I believe they are a team that will make the finals. But in regards to Gold Coast, another season where they're just a mediocre team. The sort of back burner of the AFL, just put to the doorstep and not really let in. Quite disappointing that they again sacked Shui Ju earlier this year. But you can only look forward for the Suns. The only way up is by starting with the first step. So good on the Suns for keeping with the Swans, even though they lost the game. And the Suns could even go anywhere next year, but I expect them around the same mark next year as well.
Yeah, well, I guess the Suns, they'll finish bottom 4 in technicality, and that's a fail in their book for sure, certain. Because they're looking for finals, and it's just not there. So, but I guess to finish off the season, the Suns, they're playing the Blues and the Roos. So at least the last game should be competitive down in Hobart. But it's just unfortunate to see the season peter off like the way it is.
100%.
Yeah, after it was so promising with Stewie G before he left as well. Yeah. But on Sydney's front, I mean, they've got 2 pivotal matchups coming up against the Crows and the Dees. They're absolute bangers.
I only see them winning one of those games.
I can see winning both. I can see them losing both. They're both coin tosses for me. Like, either way that you look at it, the Swans are, they're to and fro. So, I mean,
I do expect them to make the top 8.
yeah, I mean, but does one win put them in top 8? Because they're 2 points behind the Saints in 6th. They're 2 points ahead of the Dogs, the Dons, and the Giants. And then you've got the Cats right behind, 1 game behind the Swans. And then just behind that, you've got the Crows, which, But is one enough to make it?
Yes, I agree. I concur. One will be enough.
I would say safely.
It'll be against the Demons as well.
I can see him winning the D's, yeah. But, I mean, ideally you'd win 2, right? Because that would probably get you above the Saints for a home final.
I don't see them having a home final because traveling to Adelaide against Adelaide this week will be a test for them, and I expect the Crows to get up against them.
I see. Well, the Saints would have to lose to the Cats and the Lions, which is possible, I will say. And the Swans have to win 1 to get above them. I guess the Saints could also just miss finals completely, but I don't see that at the moment.
It's funny how a couple of weeks ago we saw the Saints dropping out of the top 8, and now they're sort of staying there.
They've decided to get right form, right time, eh? Yeah.
They've surprised us all. Talking about Adelaide just coming short to the Lions at the Gabba. It's 99-93. I feel very sorry for the Crows because they're actually competing very well against the top teams. They've lost to Collingwood by 1 point and 2 points. They've lost to Melbourne with a narrow margin. They're now lost to Brisbane at the Gabba by a narrow margin.
A kick.
A kick. And the only team that have been in the top four by quite a lot is Port Adelaide, twice this year. So it just proves that Adelaide can go anywhere this year and next year. Next year is going to be a very big year for the Crows. But going on to the game, Brisbane probably winning it from the get-go, and Adelaide just had to claw their way back somehow. And they managed to, but just couldn't get the chocolates in the end.
Yeah, I mean, scoreboard aside, Adelaide's probably like with Brisbane. You know, Brisbane's home turf too, pretty much there. I mean, Adelaide's leading most stats. I don't want to get that wrong. But I guess coming off the back half, that's just how the Lions generated a lot of their kicking power. But like the Crows had 4 more scoring shots.
100%.
So to lose by 1 kick in that scenario is a bit tough. But and that's football at the end of the day. I mean, yeah, for the Crows, like Laird had a great game. You know, Miller or Crouch, you know, says normal. Tex, he does what he does best. He had only 2 goals, 3 surprisingly. So, you know, he's 5 games behind the Coleman leader, Curnow.
5 games, 5 goals.
5 goals, obviously goals. And then, yeah, like McAdam at 4, which is fantastic to see. A lot of good role players. It's just, well, not quite enough at the end. It's their efficiency in front of goal, which they need on top of the handballs and on-field stuff. But Brisbane, you know, they hold on. They secure a win. Charlie Cameron. Yeah, Charlie Cameron had 3. And, yeah, McCluggage had quite a lot of the ball too. Yeah.
They probably secured themselves a home final by winning this. But I'd just like to say on Adelaide's behalf as well, their best is really good, but when they are off, they are horrible. Once they find that middle ground and find some consistency in their football, you're going to lose a game or 2 during the season. That's inevitable. But to bounce back, learn how to bounce back and be consistent is where the Crows will need to learn going forward into next year and even possibly into finals this year, which I do expect them to make finals as well, finishing 8th spot.
Well, the fight against the Swans this week on the Saturday night, it's going to be a perfect test to see that. You know, can you bounce back from these close games, which are just falling short, into a must-win game? That's the perfect opportunity to see how that pans out. They'll play them, the Swans, and the Eagles to finish off the season. So you could expect both of those. And I guess on the Lions, it's a lot tougher actually. The Magpies and the Saints. So yeah,
it's going to be interesting with Brisbane and Collingwood this week at Marvel.
oh yeah.
Moving forward with pure robbery. Carlton winning against Melbourne in the last minute, 60-56. Melbourne should have won this game, but the goal review system robbed them of a victory, in my opinion.
Caleb Marchbank, Player of the Year. Absolute legend to say. Hung on by a fingernail. All puns intended. Doing this from the Blues. It was a good game of football. I mean, well, not really, but you get the point. It was close. It was just to and fro, but the Blues hung on. Newman, fantastic game down back. I couldn't stress enough. He had a great game. Cripps had a lot of the ball too, and a goal. Your usual suspects. I think it was Doherty who went down injured, if I remember right. Or who was injured? Yeah? No? Okay. Well, he was subbed off, injured. And yeah, he's injured his calf. So how that affects Carlton. I can't remember how the extent of that injury, but what that'll have in the next fortnight and into finals is questionable. He's been one of the better backmen for the most part of the last few years for Carlton. But I guess he gives the opportunity for, say, Newman, like we saw tonight, I guess that night, to step up and, you know, put words into action. He's played a game of football. So they'll play the Suns and the what's it called? Giants over the next fortnight, which, you know, you could argue is tough, right? Suns in the Gold Coast and home against the Giants, but
this just me as well. I only see them winning one game as well.
Who are they losing to?
GWS.
Okay, that's fair enough. I mean, I would have thought the same, except for the fact that the Giants recently haven't been too hot. So like
Carlton are the team to beat at the moment, just purely because of the fact that they're hitting the right marks at the right time of the year.
That's fair. I mean, the Dees also play the Red Hot Hawks and the Swans. I can totally see a universe where Carlton makes top 4. Melbourne lose 2, they win 2. That's all it takes, right? So I can see a world where it's Collingwood Carlton qualifying final. You don't want to miss it.
You've heard it here, folks. That's a huge call.
Not really. Though if you look at the games, all Carlton has to do is to beat the Suns on the Gold Coast and the Giants, which are very doable by their standards right now and their form. And all Melbourne has to do is fall short to the Hawks, which Hawks have already beaten the Doggies and the Pies in the last fortnight. I want to make clear, right? They're very, very hot right now. Like fresh out of the oven. They are steaming, right? And I don't remember Foster's back. I hope not.
No, you hope not.
But then they go to Sydney to play the Swans, and that's a test in itself because the Swans are hot too. So even though the D's are the favourites in both of those, that's
you never know what can happen in footy, especially this year, the year of the unknown.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, I could never see a world Collingwood Carlton, MCG Friday night. Right.
That's got to be like a 98,000 crowd right there as well.
That's going to be a bigger crowd than the grand final.
Oh yeah, 100%.
In fact, it might be the grand final too.
Might be louder than the grand final as well.
They might play then and the grand final. We'll see.
We'll have to wait and see for that.
Yeah.
Over in the West, Fremantle absolutely demolishing the Eagles 134-33. Do we really have to say much about this game?
Not really. It was just the epitome of the Eagles season. I mean, they led they got the first 2 goals at least, the Eagles, and then they didn't score anything until last quarter. But yeah, I mean, then they kicked the last goal, and then everything else in between is just all Freo. So Schultz, I guess, had a fantastic game. He had 5, right? Anyway, and the rest is history. I don't know what I was to say about this one. This was a snore from the second quarter onwards, if I'm honest.
The only question I have for you about the Eagles is, are they going to get Harley Reid? No.
I think it's better off if they look to trade the number 1 pick for some other high picks just to get numbers. Right.
Fair enough.
So other high number picks, whether it's to North Melbourne, whether it's to Hawthorn, the Giants, maybe not the Giants, but you get the idea. Yeah. So, you're not going to get picks 2 and 3 like I think North Melbourne did last year, to the Giants, but you want something comparable, right? You want high-end picks, just not the first one. Harley Reid's not going to want to go to the Eagles. The Eagles might not want Harley Reid either. Right. But keep in mind, Jinby's out too. He hasn't been playing for a while, I don't think. So they have to outstill the Eagles, and they'll have retirees, and they'll get compensation and whatever else. But it's just the way games played.
We'll have to wait and see. Down to UTAS, where the red hot Hawks took down the Dogs 67-64. What a cracking game this was.
Newcomb's 50th, Warple's 100th, and it was all guns blazing. Newcomb had a goal, 40 touches, if you don't mind, and 12 to
career high as well.
Behind me, yeah. Career high 40, and then 12 marks. He was everywhere. I loved his game so much. Scrimshaw as well down back. That's a couple of weeks in a row now. I've just loved the way Scrimshaw's been playing. He's been fantastic. Yeah, he's been great too. And Ned Reeves in the ruck. So he outdid Tim English. What can I say? So I mean, that's 43 hitouts to 32. So, bit of controversy at the end too of the game though.
Tim English taking a kick in is ridiculous.
I don't mind it though.
Yeah, I know you don't mind it. I know what you think about it, but it was absolutely disgraceful, and it's what I'm going to be getting quite frustrated at later.
Well, I want to give my idea on it now. So, I guess I like the idea of Tim English taking that free kick. I know Sam Mitchell said after the game, he didn't even pay attention to it. He's just looking for him across the ground because he's the tall target you kick to, as you would expect. But I do also like the idea of pulling Tim English back to take the kick, give him a bit of run too. Like, you don't expect that ruckman to be doing that. Give him more space. You take away Hawthorn's ruckman, right? That's big, and you force them to play smaller on the mark, right? I think for the Bulldogs' perspective, I think it was a bold, but I think necessary play to make, and it didn't work out, right? But I think it was the right call on their behalf. So, look, I get why people are mad, but I see the vision, and it wasn't a bad idea, but it just didn't work out in the end.
Will the Dogs make the top 8?
I don't see a reason for them not to, but they're getting colder at the moment. So they lose to the Hawks this week. Granted, it was coming off a very big win against the Tigers, and then losing to the Giants week before that, but they're playing the Eagles this week at Marvel. Yeah, Marvel on the Sunday. And then the Cats at GMHPA. So it could be win-1, lose-1 situation. Again, like all the other teams there, Swans, Dons, Giants.
Right.
Yeah, but they're in it to win it. They're 8th right now, and they could very well, definitely, possibly, be winning both of those games and making that the finals. Possibly, maybe higher than the Saints. Maybe
they need to win both games to make finals, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, they're only leaving a percentage to the Dons and Giants. This is why they're 8th now, but they're there. We'll see.
We'll have to wait and see. Come round 24. The other thing I'd like to discuss is that Chad Wingard injured himself quite severely with the Achilles after being in a month of great form. Hopefully he recovers soon. Do you think he'll get another contract or he'll retire?
I feel like give him 1 year.
1 year?
Give him a year. I don't know the extent of this injury. And hopefully it doesn't ruin our form for the rest of the season, but I'd give him a year or 2 just to wait things out. Let him live in his own terms.
Fair enough. On to the blockbuster, the Saints beating Richmond 93-57. Quite a surprising victory as well.
Yeah.
Quite a convincing win as well.
Yes, definitely. The Saints are red hot. They're in it to win it. They are all guns blazing for finals. If you had a calculator for the most informed sides right now, the Saints somehow, I mean, you know how much we're not fans of Saints this season. They've managed to get from the bottom of the barrel to a win against the Hawks to now, beating the Tigers by 6 goals, if you don't mind. Granted, it's at Marvel, No, the Tigers have travelled too well at Marvel, but they had a great game. Like, really, really good, solid game. The Tigers needed to win it, coming off a bad loss to the Dogs, and, well, their final chances are over now.
100%. They're out.
Yeah, like, completely done and dusted. No matter what way you split and splice it, they're done. Okay, so I guess looking forward for them. They've got quite a few retirees, the older players, but they've still got some good contributors who played well against the Saints, all things considered. Dan Curvis had 28 hitouts, 16 touches, 7 tackles. Right, he's still pretty good for a big ruck. Taranto, short, broad, Bolton as always. And you also had Baker and Boer at 2 each. And I guess on the Saints side, pushing for finals, very hot form. King had 6 goals, right? And Gresham had 3. They just couldn't be stopped. From the get-go, all guns blazing. Yeah, just couldn't stop them.
They've been the surprise of the past month, especially for us, as we had them outside the top 8. 2 weeks ago? We had them outside the top 8.
17th a few weeks ago.
We had them, and you'll witness quite shortly with the power rankings that they have moved up quite significantly due to the fact that they've started to come out of the rabbit hole. And whether or not they'll make finals, we'll just have to wait and see. Do you think they've secured their spot in the top 8, though?
They have to win one more, obviously. And that'll come either against the Cats or the Lions. But the Lions at the Gabba is very tough, as we know. Not even the Crows could get above them. And the Cats at Marvel is who knows? It's, the Cats, how they're traveling is kind of up in the air. And how they play at Marvel is also up in the air. But it's, everyone's game.
It could be another 2009 situation with Gardner.
Maybe, but I think the way the Saints are traveling, they'll make them competitive at least. If the Cats game puts them out of it, they're done. I think they'll either bottom of or out of finals, especially because the Swans are right there. The Swans will secure a home final because of it. They need to win, right? So tough end of the season for them, but hopefully they'll be all right.
Yeah, that'll be all right as well. Ross Lyon has done very well with the Saints this year, and they've definitely succeeded in my books either way.
Yeah, fair enough.
On to Port Adelaide Giants. Port Adelaide destroying the Giants 136-85.
From the start, it wasn't close. The scoreboard does not show how much of a demolition this was, because I saw a bit of this one, and it was ugly. There would, Tom Green, Toby Green, and that was all the green the Giants had. The rest of the green was the rest of the team
running along the grass.
Yeah, pretty much. I guess both greens, different spellings, 2 goals each, 31 and 27 touches respectively each. But it's all power from the very start. Butters had 34 touches, Houston at 30, Rosie at 29, Horn Francis 27, Ollie Wines at 29 too. They just could not be stopped. They were everywhere.
It's been a long season. 24 rounds will take a lot out of every team. And with Port Adelaide losing the last 4, they needed to secure this win to give them an opportunity in making the top 4, because they're very close. They're very close to dropping out. With Carlton 2 games behind, and with 2 losses, anything could happen.
Yeah, I think more so to the top 2, because they're not going to miss out on top 4, unless once again Carlton get up. But they play the Rio in Perth, and then they're hosting the Tigers. So, if you're assuming that the Lions win 1, lose 1 to Pies and Saints, then Port have to win 2. They don't have to win 1 if you're thinking the Lions lose both. But if the Lions are winning both, I don't think there's a way for the Port to catch up unless it's by margin.
That's fair enough.
Yeah, Freo in Perth this week will tell you, right? Because you expect them to go over the line against the Lions, especially where form both the clubs are going, especially in Adelaide too.
Yeah, 100%. Onto the power rankings.
I think so. Yeah.
I'll let you take it away.
All right then. So starting off, Collingwood first, as per normal. Melbourne losing. We're not holding out against them. They're staying in second. They're pretty much in it till the very end. Whether you believe that should have been a win or a loss, up to you. Lions sticking in third for now. Blues, they're up there. They're in the top 8. So it's top 4 for me. And Jacob, it's... No. They're most informed side of the comp. Close game or not, they're there. Port just behind them. Cats holding on to 6th. It feels weird. It's a big cut off from 5th to 6th. But at the moment, you kind of you hold them to a higher level just because they've won the final grading last year. You just hold them to the higher standard, even though they don't have Selwood and obviously not as great form considering. You still hold them to that standard. And they're playing almost up to it. Gross, right, just behind them. They're playing good football. It's just falling short to the Lions. Dogs. Similar thing. Like, you expect them to bounce back. Granted, it's Bevo. Who knows? But, hey. Swans. Yep, they definitely played. Then you've got the Suns, Giants. I mean, yeah, Giants, they lost by a lot, but once again, they're usually good, similar to the Dees in that respect. So you'd think they'd bounce back and play out the rest of the season because they're in it.
They are.
Hawks staying kind of in that mid-range area now. Sitting in 12th, just above the Saints. Great win against the Dogs, great win against the Pies. Hopefully they can retain that form going to the Dees and the Dockers. Saints slowly rising up. They're probably one of the more informed teams in the comp, but we're still just a bit too wary on them to bring them up higher where they are on the ladder. And then do against...
They've gone out the top 4 though. The bottom 4, sorry.
Yes, yeah, they have. There's a new friend down in the bottom 4 now. Rio.
A new...
Yeah. Rio Dons and Tigers, they're just not great at the moment at all. And they'll stay down there. So yeah, Richmond joined their bottom 4 in 16th. Fun. And then West Coast North Melbourne to finish that off.
For obvious reasons.
Do you touch on any of those? Or I just stole them all?
On to the predictions for round 23, and it's quite the big round. It's quite a big Friday night with the Lions taking on the Pies at Marvel.
It is a big one. I have the Lions.
I also have the Lions.
Yeah, it's not the MCG, so I trust them a bit more. But
and they've won their past 8 out of 10 games at Marvel, and they've bet the Pies 5 times in a row in the past.
I just saw that too. That does make me suspect Collingwood might get over the line, but I have the Lions by 5 points here. They travel okay to Marvel. It's one of the better grounds they travel to, so hopefully they'll be all right.
With the Pies injuries, I do see them losing this game and possibly winning next week. But I do see them resting a lot of players as well and bringing in some youthful players, so then the fans can see them play. Like Jacob Ryan's making his debut this week for the Pies, so good on him.
Yeah. I guess the Lions. I was gonna say, like, with Collingwood's injuries, you think they have them over the line, and they beat them earlier in the year. They got over that big hump no one else could get over. So the Lions, they have what it takes. It's just how Collingwood will play there will wait and see. Yeah.
Richmond, North Melbourne.
Richmond and North Melbourne. So I have North Melbourne. No, not Melbourne. Screw it. North Melbourne. MCG.
I've got the Tigers, buddy. I don't know what you're
North.
smoking. Jack Rewalt and Trent
No,
Cotchin.
look,
Trent Cotchin's last games at the MCG.
that doesn't stop. That doesn't change anything. North Melbourne, they're bringing in Daniel Howe, Will Phillips, Tom Powell, and Hugh Greenwood. I may or may not have just.
Whoa! Absolute superstars of the game they are.
I know James Stevenson's injured and Cunnington's out. He's played his last game, but I'm not a fan of the Tigers' form, and I think it's time for North to win one.
Whoa.
I think it's time. They're not winning the week after, that's for sure. I mean, it's at home in Hobart maybe, but I think they have a chance. I know every single season these two teams play, I always tip North Melbourne, but I'm tipping North again.
Fair enough.
Not the first upset I want to say today.
Suns Carlton.
Speaking of, I've got the Blues.
I've got the Suns.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess Mackay's back, which I'm guessing is
Yay!
fine.
More snaps. We get the buggy more. Yes.
So he's back. And for the Suns, McPherson's out, Holland's out, Situs is out.
Debutante.
But
Lloyd Johnson.
Yeah. Lloyd Johnson, he's in. Alex Sexton, Ben King, Fiorini, they're all in too. And Broderick.
I've got the Suns purely because I hate Carlton.
Do you think Mackay's being back is just gonna flip the form around, or are they gonna still be hot?
Charlie Curnow was better without him. He was a lot better without him, and Harry Mackay will be what Brody Grundy is.
Okay, fair enough. Okay.
Giants against the Dons.
I have Essendon.
I have the Giants.
Okay. So I was quickly over the ins and outs. So the Giants, Brent Daniels and Toby Bedford are in. Whereas Jacob Ware, Haynes, which is big. Right, Haynes has been really good, but he's out. And McMullen, I guess he was a sub, but they're all out. Essendon, Jake Stringer's back and Draper's back. Baldwin and Brian are out.
Doesn't change a thing. I don't think the Bombers will play that well at Giants Stadium.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. I guess I trust Essendon to kind of get back into it. The Giants, they've been hit and miss. You'd expect them to bounce back from the big loss to the Power, but no Haynes. I don't, and Stringer's back too. I think Essendon's forward line now has just got that tip over. And I think there's a bit more of a lead, but might just be copium.
Fair enough. Saints Cats.
I want to keep the DR train rolling. Or the Saints.
I've got the Cats.
Okay. Well, I guess this is pretty much just the Saints will stay the same side. Hawkins is back, and Jed Buse. So Stanley and Rowan, as you said earlier, will be out. This is should be a good game actually at Marvel.
Is Figler in?
If he didn't play last week, he's not playing this week either.
God damn it! So who is playing ruck for the Cats?
It looks to be Shannon Neal. He's played 3 games this season.
He played pretty good last
against
week.
Rowan Marshall though. It's basically whoever's midfield you prefer. So Steele and Crouch or Dangerfield and Atkins.
Rowan Marshall's gonna tear Neil a new bumhole, but I do feel as though the Cats will have a better midfield.
Fair enough. I just think Steele is great. Crouch is great. Dan Butler, he's great. From midfield and forward line. Mason Wood is fantastic. They were good form the Saints too, so I don't think there's a reason for them to lose, especially at a ground they're so good at.
Fair enough. Fair. Adelaide, Sydney.
Oh, Adelaide.
I've got Adelaide as well.
Yeah, cool. All right. So Rankin is back. Yippee. With Luke Nankervis and Pedlar omitted out. So Sydney's side, Dane Rampy's back. Didn't expect that. Brandon Campbell and Jack Buller are in, with Amati injured out. Francis and Roberts both omitted.
Amati's a big out because he's been showing some good form, and as soon as he shows some good form, he gets injured. So hopefully he can get himself up and about for next season.
Yeah, or for next finals. I don't know how he's going to have his injury, but it's going to be big out for the next fortnight for the Swans who are pushing for finals.
Bulldogs, Eagles, and before we say our tip here, the Eagles are tipped at $15. So if the Eagles win, gonna get some money.
Yeah, well, Lib is out. He's injured. If you know from the Hawks game, he got very badly. Oh, yeah, he got injured in the opening few minutes. So Scott, Jordan Sweet, McNeil, and Luke Cleary will come in for the Dogs. Callum Jamieson, I love his game. Petrocelli, Ryan Marich are all in, and Zane True are all in with Greg Clark's suspension.
I've got the Dogs.
Yeah, I've got the Dogs. I built love for nothing. But yeah, we have the Dogs. It's Marvel Stadium. It's to be fair, the Eagles played well Marvel last time.
Against the Bombers as well, who are similar caliber to the Dogs. So,
or you'd expect so. Yeah.
You'd expect so. The pink lady round, pink lady game, Melbourne and Hawks in support to breast cancer, if I remember correctly.
Breast cancer awareness game. I have the Hawks.
I've got the Dees.
Okay. Anyway, we my last episode for the night. So.
You've got the doctors feeding the power.
Yeah.
So,
Tomlinson, Bradley Laurie, Charlie Spargo, and Shaki are in for the D's for Hibbard.
Shaki?
Yeah, they're all in. Oh, sorry, Hibbard is a sub. Brandon Ryan, he's in again. Jai Sarong. It says Max Ramsden. I wouldn't expect that. Ned Long and Tyler Brockman. And first wait, I guess is the extended list for the Hawks as well. With McDonald was sub last week, but Chad Wingard and Mitchell also injured. So
Mitchell is being injured. The Mitchell and James Sicily states that they are a 50% winning chance if Sicily and Lewis play. So with Mitch Lewis out, the statistics don't lie. Melbourne are going to win this game.
But they're not, because the Hawks are on a roll. And even the games which I guess the last fortnight, I dare say that they weren't the most informed players in the side. Sicily and Lewis, like Wingard is very pivotal, but it was mainly through like the younger guys in the middle of the ground, like Newcomb and Day.
May I just say that Will Day reminds me a lot of Nat Fyfe in his younger years as well.
That's fair. Yeah. And also McGuinness. Well, whoever he decides to tag is going to be instrumental to the way they play. But I also feel... Sorry?
Weddle.
And Weddle. Yes.
Weddle's very good.
Yeah. I think if the Dees play Grundy again, they lose. If they take him out, they win. That feels cruel, but that's my take.
Where will Brody Grundy be next year?
I don't know. anyone's
Yeah.
guess. I ran out of options. I talked about it a few weeks ago, I think, or about a month ago, but not a clue.
Port Adelaide, Fremantle. You've got Fremantle, and I've got Port Adelaide.
Yeah. So
you are some crazy stuff tonight, aren't you?
I guess Boke's available for selection for the Power. Some of Jackson Mead. And Alex Walters is out for Freo, but I have Fremantle, big win against the Eagles in Perth, and they're staying there, and they'll stay winning. They'll carry that form into this game. I don't know how well the Power are there, but I don't care.
You just think Fremantle are going to win.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I don't think it's going to... it might be close, but they'll win by a little bit.
Fair enough. On to what made us angry over the weekend.
I've got nothing to all to you.
Oh, Jesus H. Christ. Who allows a ruckman to take a kick in?
Bevo.
Please, it's not a rhetorical question. Who allows a ruckman to take a kick in?
Bevo. Me.
Beveridge, you have one of the greatest lists and you are wasting it. You got Bontempelli, Liberatore, and McRae. You got Ugelhagen, Aaron Norton. You got all these fantastic players. Keith, Jarea, who's an ex-premiership player at the Hawks. You got everything at your... You got everything there, and you're not allowing stuff to flourish. And you allow Tim English, a guy who looks like a Minecraft character with the most generic hair I've ever seen from a blonde kid who's 220 meters tall. Like, come on. You got to have a player who has a dangerous kick like Caleb Daniel to penetrate through the defence of the Hawthorn Football Club. I see that face, Elijah.
What through the Hawthorn Football Club?
Like you can't. Like Elijah says, he sees the vision, but I don't see a vision because I must be blind. All I saw was a ruckman being in uncharted territory and mucking it all up, and probably losing the opportunity to play in a final due to that loss. And to that, I say, shame on you, Luke Beveridge. You should be doing a lot better with the list that you have. Ruckman shouldn't be taking kick-ins.
I said my take before. I'm sticking to it.
Ruckmans should not be taking kick-ins.
What they did.
Fair dinkum.
Should happen more often out of spite.
That's the only thing I got frustrated about on the weekend. But the Hawks won, so I was quite happy. But I just found it very confusing how the Ruckman was taking a kick-in. But onto what made us laugh, and there was plenty that made me laugh. Let me tell you. BT saying that the pies are growing like mushrooms was quite funny. There was a couple other things. Let me double check. No context footy with 1 minute here. Oh yeah, the Melbourne supporter who went off her chops. When I saw it, it was so fucking funny. Oh, there's a swear word again. Oh no.
We're getting cancelled.
Yeah. God damn it.
Goodbye, Jacob.
Bang. When I saw that Melbourne supporter, I just laughed my head off. She looked so angry, and her mannerisms, I don't know if she was speaking English or some ancient Latin. It was quite funny. My last one that I'll do before we see what made you laugh, Elijah, is that Geelong supporter who thought he was him. That guy with that smirk, thinking he's the goal umpire, with the hats, sort of paint and graffiti and the fake dreadlocks. bro, you are not him. You are not Ray Chamberlain or Roden. You are a Geelong supporter who made me cringe. And to be honest, it was pretty funny at the same time because that smirk made me laugh.
Fair enough.
What made you laugh?
This, I mean, it's an old story, but the state of West Coast Eagles, they're back at it again. They're losing games of football by 100 points again. I feel so bad for Adam Simpson, but I can't.
Will he survive? Will he survive?
He shouldn't, but I don't know. What? Hey, you reckon he'll coach like Richmond next year? Chance.
I see Gian Syracuse coaching Richmond.
That's fair enough. But I think maybe for his sake, he should probably act on his own behalf because I don't think the club will at this point. Just try somewhere else, mate. You'll be fine. Just yeah.
Final messages. Do you have anything to say?
Player of the round.
Oh yeah, player of the round.
Yeah.
Before we go into final messages, I changed mine last minute. It was originally Jack Ginnivan, but he's an honourable mention for me today. I'm going Jeremy Cameron with 7 goals. It should have been 5 goals, but he kicked 7 goals with some controversy with the boundary umpiring, with his mark on the boundary and being hand passed along the boundary and somehow kicking a snap. But overall, 7 goals is 7 goals, and he was the only player to kick 7 goals this round. And he was quite the force up there and probably kept Geelong in the game against the Pies.
Fair enough. I've also changed mine last second. It was going to be Newcomb. He had a fantastic game, 40 touches as we touched on. Mine's Caleb Marchbank. So, to all those Dees supporters and those Carlton haters, this one's to you. Alright. Caleb Marchbank, he's back, baby. By fingernail. Gold or not, hey. We'll take it. We love a bit of controversy here. He won the game for the Blues. What can I say? Am I wrong?
He did not touch it. He paused.
Okay.
In an interview, he paused when someone asked, did he touch it? He was like, oh yeah, I touched it. Like, he did not touch it. I'm 99.9% sure he did not touch
Whether he did or not, he technically, on all technicalities, he won the game for Carlton. And I do not care what anyone else says. He won the game for Carlton. I am not wrong. By any definition, I am not wrong.
You're not wrong, but you...
There we go. Misinformed? Maybe. But I am not wrong at all.
I can't win this argument because even should be false.
Final comments.
Final comments. I've got nothing, but Elijah, you are on something tonight.
Sure.
It's quite disturbing.
I mean, let's count the upsets. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. 6 upsets this week. And ones which aren't upsets is Carlton beating the Suns, the Crows beating the Swans, which even then is a bit iffy, and then the Dogs beating the Eagles. So yeah. Look,
do you have any comments?
I'm second in my tipping comp. I am 3 games behind first. I'm ahead on margin. I just need to, basically 2 more wins more than them for the rest of the last 2 rounds. I'm taking my chances, mate.
It's the year of unpredictability, so
Exactly.
I can't say much, but I do think you've gone a bit nuts.
Crazy. I was crazy once. They locked me in a room, a rubber room full of rats. The rats made me crazy. Crazy? I was crazy once. They locked me in a room, a rubber room full of rats. Rats made me crazy. Oh, crazy? I was crazy once. They locked me in a room, a rubber room full of rats. Crazy? No.
Stop being a rat.
Rats? Rats make me crazy. Crazy. I was
Uh,
Alright, like, subscribe. All the good stuff.
Jakob and Elijah Premiership Podcast out.
Yeah, thank you guys.